Hi! And we're live again. Hello, everybody. Hi. Let me know if you can hear me, if you can see me, if everything is working well. And yeah, I'm so ready for this live today. I'm super excited. We have a very exciting topic that we're gonna talk about today. And let's see what's gonna happen, so as you probably know, our topic for today is 10 pieces of advice for new TEFL teachers or new EFL teachers. So very, very exciting. And just gonna wait a little bit for more people to join. You know how it goes. Yeah, and also please, if you can see me, if you can hear me, if you are out there, just leave a hi and where you're watching from into the comment box below. We are live on Facebook and on YouTube right now at the same time. Super exciting. So please let me know where you are in the world, where you're watching from, and maybe also where you are right now in your TEFL in teaching journey. Are you already TEFL or TESOL certified? Are you currently taking a course? Where are you planning on teaching? Are you already teaching abroad? Are you teaching online? You know how it goes, right? Let me know. If you've watched some of my lives before, you know what this is all about, how this works. So I have prepared some slides for you. I always like to include a visual just that goes along with what I'm saying instead of just me here. I find that works much better and it's more interesting. My name is Linda, by the way, here. From ITTT. I am in South Korea, about an hour and a half south of Seoul, in a city called Cheongju. I've been here for almost 6 years now. It's been a long time. Time flies, especially because we can't really count 2020, can we? So, yeah. Awesome. We have some familiar people here. Hi, Irma from the Philippines. That's awesome. Juliana, still from Illinois. Thanks so much for tuning in. It's so great to see familiar faces week after week. And I know I keep saying this every week, but I appreciate you guys so much for tuning in. And I hope we're also going to get a bunch of new people because that's always fun, a new set of people. So, yeah. We are doing these live sessions twice a week. One time myself, and then one time my colleague Lisa, who is a non-native English speaker, a teacher from Russia. And so that's really interesting. If you're interested, if you're a non-native English speaker, you really, really should check out her live sessions because they're super informative and give you a different perspective. She has a lot of great tips about what it's like building or establishing your teaching career as a non-native English speaking teacher. So that's really, really interesting. Because I know at ITTT we get a lot of people from all over the world, not only native English speakers, and you don't have to be a native English speaker to have a successful career in teaching either. So there we go. So that's why. That's where I was going with this. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Subscribe to our YouTube, like our Facebook page, because that's how you'll get notified whenever we go live. And we also share a lot of other interesting stuff besides our live sessions on our Facebook page and on YouTube. A lot of teaching resources, a lot of obviously TEFL information. You can check out some course grads, testimonials, and what they say about ITTT. You can reach out to some of them, and build connections, build your network, which is really, really important. And things like that. So also there is a 30% off. Oh my gosh, I need to practice this more. Here, 30% off any TEFL or TESOL course. So you might want to check that out. As always, That's the best discount out there you can find. We only share 30% discount codes typically during our live sessions. So if you're watching, you're very lucky. You can get that 30% off any TEFL or TESOL course if you haven't taken one yet, or if you want to get, an upgrade. We have different course options. I did a live probably in October or November about all our different course options, so you might want to check that out. You can always rewatch all of our live sessions on YouTube or on Facebook. You can find the videos section, and there will be a folder or playlist called live events or live videos or something like that, and you can rewatch all of them. Also, we're always turning our live events into audio-only podcast episodes. So if you're into podcasts, that might be something you're interested in. I always listen to podcasts while I'm driving, and it's very relaxing. So that might be an option for you. You can find our podcast on, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Apple, iTunes, Apple Podcasts. You know what I'm talking about. You can search for ITTT or TEFL podcast. It's called the TEFL and TESOL podcast by ITTT. And we recently, I think in January or in February, we hit 1,000 downloads, which is super exciting. So there we go. I got a couple of responses here in the comment section. Please bear with me. We don't have a mod or an admin or anything like that who's helping me out with comments. It's just me. I have 2 laptops in front of me. I have a mic. I have something to drink and all that good stuff. So bear with me if I'm not getting back to you right away. But as always, you can just throw your questions at me at any time. That's what I'm here for, and that's what I love doing, just having a conversation. I don't want this to be just me talking. I want us to engage and have a conversation with each other. All right, we have Luciana, who says, hello, good night for all. What time is it where you are, and where are you at? Oh, good question, Luciana. Luciana's asking, do you have a channel on Instagram? Yes, we do. Let me share the link with you, because we have a different handle over there. It's called International TEFL Training. We were thinking of changing the handle name, perhaps just to ITTT or something like that. Let me post it in the comment section. Here, that's our Instagram. Please head over there and give us a follow. We are trying very hard to grow our Instagram. You need 10,000 followers to get that swipe up function, the stories, and that's what we're really aiming for. So if you could do that, that would be great. That's one of your homework, one of your assignments for today, okay? Go to our Instagram and just follow us. It'd be great. We also have a hashtag on our Instagram. Hold on. It's called My TEFL Adventure. So if you tag your Instagram posts with hashtag My TEFL Adventure, then you can get featured every Friday today. Today's Feature Friday. So if you post something about teaching, about living abroad, anything that has to do with TEFL, then you can get featured on our Instagram. So how about that? That would be awesome. You could do that, please. That would be awesome. All right, let's see who else we have here. Oh, Irma says, we keep coming back because we learn a lot from your sessions. Thank you so much. Thank you. I really hope that you do, because that's what I'm here for. I always try to, come up with new topics and make them as exciting as possible, I guess. And it's really fun. I like doing these live sessions. If you've seen some of the earlier live sessions that I did, maybe you can tell the difference. Like the first time, I guess with anything, I was more nervous and I didn't really know what to do. And it took me a long time to prepare. But now, it still takes a lot of time to prepare, but I'm enjoying it. It's fun. And because we're like a TEFL family now. There's so many people that come back here week after week. It's awesome. Moses too. Moses is in the house. Hi, Moses. What's up? How are you? Yes, sounds cool. The hashtag, yeah, if you are on Instagram, please use our hashtag #myTEFLadventure and you can get featured on our account. That would be awesome. So please, please, please do that. Today's Feature Friday. Well, it's Friday already where I am, but I'm probably going to post the Feature Friday, or we're going to post it in probably 6 or 7 hours. So if you have time in the next 6 or 7 hours, you can post something with that hashtag. You will be featured today, if not next week. All right? Please do so. That'd be great. We have Giuliano. Hi, Giuliano. It's good to see you again as well. He says, hi, Linda. It's always a pleasure to hear your tips. Congrats. Thank you. That's awesome. And then we have Brett. Hey, Brett. I remember you too. You've been watching a couple of times as well. See, we're growing. Our family's growing week after week. Familiar faces. I love it. I love it. That's awesome. All right. So then, without further ado, here. Today's topic, 10 pieces of advice every new EFL teacher needs to know. So that's the topic that I chose for today. I think it's really important just to share this with you guys, even if you are already teaching abroad. And if you are, please also share your advice. That would be awesome. I'm going to present every advice starting with 1, obviously, and then as we go until 10. And feel free to, add your comments. I want to start a conversation. And please add your advice as well. That would be awesome. We can all benefit from each other. I always also learn so much from you guys during these live sessions, and I appreciate it so much. So without further rambling, let me get rid of this and let me add my presentation here to the stream. I'm a little smaller now. I hope you can still see me down here. But yeah, that's what we're doing. And like I said, at any time, feel free to scan the QR code in this upper right-hand corner if you can. And I'm also going to share a discount link. Let me just share it right now before we forget. And that also is going to get you 30% off if you apply through this link. And we have a, what's it called? Cookie system on our website. So if you use the link right now and you leave the website, I think it's for 30 days, you return later, you can still get a discount. So, all right, here we have, ooh, interesting. Debbie Moore styles the Nature Wanderer. Awesome. That sounds very cool. I'm probably going to have to check out that channel afterwards. But hey, watching here from the Philippines. Awesome. Thanks for joining us, Debbie. I wish I was in the Philippines. I went on my honeymoon, well, with my husband to the Philippines, and it was amazing. I want to go back. Okay. Let's get started, and I'll keep an eye on my comment box. So at any time, feel free to talk with me, or I'll get nervous if nobody's talking to me and I just talk to myself. But yeah, so let's jump right in. As always, I like to add a brief introduction about myself because there are some new people here that don't know me or anything. Well, not anything, but me or ITTT. So here we are. My name is Linda Dunsmore. I am a travel writer and content creator under the name Linda Goes East. You can find my personal website at Linda Goes East or www.lindagoeseast.com and on social media at Linda Goes East. Especially on Instagram, I love to share my adventures on there. That's one of my Instagram pictures last year at a temple in Korea. I loved it there. And I am originally from Germany/USA. My mom is German, my dad is American, and I spent some time in both countries. And since 2015, I've been based in South Korea, and I also taught English in China and also in Korea here. And yeah, I'm also a TEFL and TESOL marketing professional at ITTT. That stands for International TEFL and TESOL Training. You can find us at teflcourse.net and on Instagram, like I mentioned just a couple minutes ago, at International TEFL Training. And like I said, we have a feature Friday. So every time you use hashtag #MyTEFLAdventure, you can get featured on our Instagram. So please do so. Anything that's teaching related or traveling, abroad, everything that's sort of related with TEFL, you can use that hashtag, and we would love to share that on our account. And yeah, ITTT is a leading TEFL and TESOL course provider worldwide. Okay. All right, then let's get back into the topic. Advice right away. Advice number 1. Here we go. I need to prepare myself. All right, advice number 1. Teaching is actually not that hard when you are prepared. Okay, that's my first advice for new EFL teachers. A long time ago, or actually not that long ago, it was a misconception that just being a native English speaker means that you can teach English, and that is not the case, right? Just because we're native English speakers or we're fluent English speakers doesn't mean we actually know how to teach. So if you are not prepared, teaching can be very challenging. I've seen a couple of people who, in their career early on, they were obviously new. They didn't even take a TEFL course. They were just going abroad, for fun. And then it's like, here, teach 15 little kids, 6-year-olds, here you go. And then they're just standing there like, oh my God, what do I do? What do I do? So we want to avoid that, right? How can we avoid that? Taking a TEFL or TESOL certification course. A course like that will give you the perfect base of know-how to be able to lead a classroom abroad or online. I think we all agree on this point, right? And I think also that more and more countries and more schools abroad are also realizing that only being a native English speaker does not make you a great teacher. That's why more and more countries and more schools make TEFL and TESOL a requirement. For example, I taught English in China probably 7 years ago. And at that time, I was just starting to get into teaching, and I wasn't TEFL certified yet, because at that time, a TEFL or TESOL was not a requirement to teach in China. But then I knew I was going to come to Korea, and I wanted to have better opportunities in Korea in terms of teaching, because I knew exactly what city I wanted to go to. And that's why I took a TEFL course at that time. But yeah, it was not a requirement for teaching English in China at the time. But fast forward to now, a TEFL or a TESOL is required to teach English in China. So it's changing all the time. And, countries, governments are tightening their requirements and make TEFL and TESOL one of the requirements that you need to have. So it's always good to have it. And like I always say, it's not only this piece of paper in your hand that certifies you, but it's much more for this reason, that it teaches you exactly, what you need to do, so that you can avoid not just being in this classroom and totally being overwhelmed. So that's why we always recommend a TEFL course. All right, Christina over here is watching from Trinidad and Tobago. Awesome. Hey, Christina. Thanks for joining us. We're talking about 10 pieces of advice for new EFL teachers. All right, moving on to number 2. Oh, there's more from Christina. She says, I'm currently doing the TEFL 120 hours with ITTT, #loving it. Thanks, girl. That's awesome. So happy that you love it. And so happy that you're here. All right. Let's move on to advice number 2 for new EFL teachers. Yeah, patience is gold. It's not only for new EFL teachers, but literally for everybody, right? Patience is gold. That's such a good advice. So even though you take a TEFL course, you work through all the units, you learn all the techniques, you learn everything there is to know during your TEFL course, still does not mean that you're going to walk into your first class and it's going to be perfect. It's not going to be perfect. Your first class is not going to be perfect. Your second class is not going to be perfect. And neither is your third class. So, with any profession, with teaching, it's just going to take time. So be patient. You will get better at teaching and learn and develop your own personal teaching style over time. Don't expect just because you took the TEFL course, you walk into the classroom and you're an amazing teacher. That's not how it's going to be, most likely. So be patient and you'll figure out your own style as you go. And I think a lot of people, they walk into the classroom, they're obviously super excited, but then there's like 15 kids or 15 students and it's overwhelming, right? I mean, it's nerve-wracking if you have your first class and you're in a different country. It's a different culture. You're in a different environment. You're nervous. So, of course, you're going to make mistakes, but that's all okay. Nobody expects you to be perfect. Also, the schools are not going to expect you to be perfect. Typically, the schools that I worked at, most people teaching there were fairly inexperienced. So the schools know that, and the schools have like training staff most of the time in place, or teachers who have already been there a year or two. They are going to help you and guide you and teach you, all the tricks and tips. And then you put your own spin on it and you develop your own teaching style. What's going to work for you? Because every situation is different, every classroom is different. You might have a problem student, and you can't really learn in a TEFL course or without, any hands-on experience. You can't really learn how to deal with that. So it's always going to depend on the specific situation and your own character. And yeah, patience is gold. Be patient. Don't be frustrated if your first week of teaching is a mess, because it's most likely going to be, let's be honest. You're arriving in a new country, or if you teach online, doesn't matter, but you're nervous and maybe you have jet lag. So all of those things, it's understandable. Your students are going to understand. Everybody's very understanding. So do not worry about that. Hey, Fazan. Good to see you again. And hi, Linda. Hi, everyone. Yeah, awesome. So what do you think about that one? Patience is gold. Can you relate? Does anybody have a story of their very first class? How did that go? Hi, Allah. Is that how? I hope I say it right. Allah? Allah? Hi. Good to have you here. I'm sure somebody has a story for us about their first class ever and how it probably didn't go so well. Okay, Allah wants to participate. He's Egyptian. Awesome. Yes, welcome. We are talking about 10 pieces of advice that every new EFL teacher needs to know. We are at advice number 2. Patience is gold. And it's great life advice in general. Okay, so when I started teaching English in Korea, just Allah? I'm sorry. I don't know how to say it. I'm so sorry. Anyway, please forgive me. All right. When I first started teaching English in Korea, or in China too, I mostly taught children. So, and sometimes they were just like really, like every class has a problem student, I suppose. And so that was kind of difficult to deal with in the beginning if you don't know what to do, right? So, yeah. And actually we had, actually all the schools where I worked at, we have like the English teacher, so me, and then we would also have like a local teacher, so a Chinese teacher or a Korean teacher who would be in the classroom, and they also help you, right? They also help you with problem students. They can take them out of the class and talk with them while you are teaching the other kids. So you're not alone in there. You have a support system in the school, so do not worry. All right, Irma says, I'm not yet a teacher, but working in customer service for a few years, I believe patience is gold. Yes, right? That it's not just for teachers, it's for everybody in general. Okay, awesome. All right, then moving on, and it's still, if you have a story, feel free to write it in the comment section and I will share it with everybody. Advice number 3, all kids are the same, or all students are the same. I taught kids mostly, so that's why I'm saying kids, but all students are the same in general. So what I mean by that is no matter where you teach in the world, you can apply the same teaching techniques and strategies to students all around the world, right? So especially children, classroom management in a class of young learners works like a charm with a reward system. So that's a really good piece of advice for anyone who's completely new to teaching. And it also works with adults. Use a reward system. You can develop your own reward system. You can Google it, like ESL reward system, EFL reward system, and there's a ton of options. So what we had at the school that I taught at in Korea, we had sticker boards. So every student, it was like this sort of smaller piece of paper, sort of in the front of the class under the whiteboard, and with every student's name on it. Everyone had their own sticker board. And every time they did a good job, they were sitting nicely, they threw away their trash, they were paying attention, they raised their hand, anything like that, they would get a sticker. And then they would collect the stickers. And then at the end of the day, they would come to the front of the class, they would put their stickers on the sticker board. They were like, I think maybe 50. Each sticker board had like 50 spaces or something. So the goal was to fill the sticker board, and then I think they would get, don't remember exactly, but depending on how many stickers they got, then they would get a reward. Where actually my school, because it was quite a bigger school, they had market day once a month. And so the students were able to exchange their stickers for like items like snacks. They could buy snacks with that, or they could buy like stationary items like pencils or rulers, or even small toys. So things like that. So that's what really, what they really loved. Or if you don't have stickers, if you teach online, you could do like smiley faces, draw smiley faces. Oh, how many smiley faces did you get today? Things like that. So reward systems work really well. And also for adults, you can maybe find a reward system. But usually for adults, they tend to want to be there in class, and they tend to be more motivated for themselves than children are. So, all right. Let me see what you guys say. So Juliana says, I always did that in my art design class. Cool. You had a reward system? Also stickers, or what kind of reward system did you have? Juliana says, well, I believe that teachers need to be organized, prepare the class, and do the best. It's difficult at the beginning, but it's normal. Yes, exactly. So that was the something for advice number 2, patience is gold. Yes. Juliana, have you ever used a reward system? Yeah. So either way, pretty much all students worldwide function the same way, or you can manage them the same way. Because we get this question a lot, or I get asked a lot because I taught in China and now I teach in Korea. How are the students different? What's the difference? And of course, there are some differences because they are from a different culture, they speak a different language, but basically they function the same way. They all want the same things, especially children. So reward systems are always really great. Juliana says, I do it. Lots of lollipops. Okay, lollipops are good. Yes. However, you do need to be careful, always. Usually, if you work for a bigger school, not just by yourself, they will have a reward system in place. So you can ask them, how do you do it? How is it appropriate? Because maybe some parents or some people don't want their kids to get too much candy or whatever it is. So that's just something to note. But yeah. All right. Moving on to advice number 4 of 10 pieces of advice every new EFL teacher needs to know. Let's have a look. Advice number 4, and this is very important. Don't underestimate culture shock. So this is for people who go abroad to teach English, right? So I've seen teachers coming to Korea or China and just not being able to handle culture shock. And then after 2 weeks, they would just go back home. It's rare, but it can happen. So be aware of that. It's not just this, how do you say? It's not just this cheesy concept. Culture shock is real. So do as much research about your new country, the country that you're moving to, as you can to understand the local culture. So what you can do is you can read blogs of people living there. You can engage with them. There's lots of Facebook groups, teachers in Korea, teachers in Peru, whatever it may be. You can find Facebook groups. You can find blogs there as well. So you can reach out to people, via Instagram. Now we have Clubhouse. You can find rooms on Clubhouse, clubs, and join. And that's a really, really good way to get yourself prepared so that you understand. There's lots of blog posts about, 10 things I wish I knew before teaching in Korea or something like that. There's tons of blog posts like that. Or YouTube channels. Watch people, there's tons of YouTube channels of people living in different countries and teaching and stuff like that. So that's always a good resource. So what else was I going to say? Oh, I forgot. Oh, yeah. So also a good way to sort of combat culture shock, you could take some language classes before you move abroad. For example, if you move to Spain, you could take some Spanish language classes. And usually language classes also include a bit of like culture topics. So they would talk about some differences between your culture and their culture. So you can pick up a few things like that as well. And you pick up some language, some words and phrases that you can use when you move. And that's also going to help you adapt to the new culture much faster, right? Mariella says, I usually do stamps. That's also cool. A good reward system. Yeah. Love that. And then if they have 20 stamps or something, you give them a snack, maybe, or a pencil or anything. Yeah, that's good. Okay, let me take a sip of water. As I always say, there is sort of a 20-second delay between me talking and then you receiving. So I want to give you as much time as possible so that we can talk about this point before moving on to the next point. But we can always go back to it. But yeah, culture shock, definitely don't underestimate and just prepare as much as possible. Juliana says, I usually sang a Chinese song for my student if they did well in class. That's such a good idea. Yeah. Cool. So if they were doing well, then you would reward them by singing a Chinese song. That's awesome. Love that. Irma says, I always do this, reading blogs and watching vlogs about my desired location for teaching. This really helps. The do's and don'ts are sometimes shocking. Right, do's and don'ts. That's also good. Lots of blog posts about, oh, the do's and don'ts in Spain or whatever it is. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. Awesome. Then let's move on to advice number 5. Sort of connected to the culture shock issue. So you will be confused, probably a lot if it's a very different culture, and that's okay. All right. So, oh my gosh, I've been living in Korea for almost 6 years, and I get confused about things, still on a daily basis. You turn on the TV and there's something, and you're like, what's going on? Why are they doing this? So it's okay, even though you do so much research. You watch all the different YouTube channels in the world. You live in a country for 6 years. You're still allowed to be confused, and that's okay. Just one important thing to remember is don't try and place your way of doing things onto the locals. Like, oh, at home we do it this way. That's better. That's the better way. You are, after all, the guest in their country, but at the same time, stay true to your own values and don't completely change yourself. It's all about compromising and finding a balance. So what I mean by that is, yeah, I've been living in Korea for 6 years. I've adapted to the culture, but of course there's still some things that I don't like about the culture that don't align with my own values. And so I stay true to my own values. I don't change completely. I'm not Korean. I will never be Korean. So there needs to be a mutual understanding, right? From the locals, the local community, and you. So it's all about finding that balance, right? And connecting and exchanging. We're living in this super globalized international world. So this is what it's all about these days, exchanging information, sharing ideas. Yeah, and we all get confused sometimes. The locals in the country where you are, they might get confused. Like, oh, what is she wearing? Why is her hair like this? Or whatever it may be. And that's okay too, So yeah, you will be confused. They will be confused. We will all be confused. It's okay. It's okay. As long as it's a good balance. All right. Juliana says, using cognate words in class comparing to students' language is a good strategy. Yes, I agree. That sounds great. Very good. Right. Yeah, or especially children, teaching children, they will be very confused. I remember, what did they say? Oh my God, like those kids, they said so many things, but it's like, or even like blue eyes. I have blue eyes, so kids here, they'd be like, why do you have blue eyes? Why are your eyes like this and stuff? And it's just like, why are my eyes blue? But like for them, it's very special. Nobody has blue eyes naturally in Korea, so they're confused about that. And I'm confused that they're asking me that, right? So those kinds of situations. Irma says, for me, it is called respect to their culture, so you can be respected as a guest as well. That's what I think it should be. Yes, I agree 100%. That's very, very well put. I couldn't have said it better. Exactly. Yes. Mutual respect. Exactly. That's what it's all about. For sure. For sure. Great. Thank you, Irma. That's what I was trying to say. Perfect. Okay. All right. Are we ready for number 6? Number 6. You might get sick. Surprise, you might get sick. Some people, they move abroad. They're only planning on spending maybe a year there. So what could happen in a year? Well, look at 2020. What can happen in a year, right? So before you go, let me answer this question real quick. So Wesley's asking, can I watch this live stream later? Yes, you can. On YouTube and also on Facebook. On YouTube, there is a section or a folder playlist called live videos, live events, so you can rewatch that later. No problem. All right. Getting back to this advice, number 6, you might get sick. So before you move abroad to a new country, ask yourself or find out if you have access to healthcare in the country you choose. That's very important. You never know what might happen. You could, nothing might happen, but something really bad could also happen. You could have an accident. You could have, whatever. Everything's possible. There might be a pandemic, a virus, right? So you never know. And so make sure you have health insurance. If you do not get if you don't have access to healthcare in the country, you can get your own health insurance, from your home country for a year while you go abroad. That's totally recommended. Definitely recommended. And then also, it's highly recommended that you pack a health kit with all essential medications that you might need, right? So things like painkillers, headache medicine, allergy pills if you have allergies, contact lenses if you wear contact lenses, and also things like birth control. Those things you can buy if you're able to in bulk for a whole year, for example, or for 6 months, and then you can take that with you. So just be prepared. Different countries have different countries are different, so they might not have that medication that you use at home. They might not have those allergy pills. They might not have those contact lenses or the birth control. So make sure you are prepared and you prepare it and you have it and you bring it with you. A lot of people are doing this. So that's just one advice to think about, a very important one. A lot of people might forget, or they just assume, oh yeah, you will have the same stuff there, but it's not always the case. It's not always the case. Or it might be a lot more expensive to get it, in a different country. All right. Advice number 7. Your friends and family might not be able to relate, right? And for people who've already lived abroad in different places, they are very well aware of what I'm talking about. So it can be like things like, cultural issues, or like even like little things, they might not be able to understand what you're going through because they have never maybe lived abroad, or they've never lived in that country, in that culture before. So it's very difficult for them to relate to your issues, right? So as much as you're trying to explain to your friends and family back home what you're going through, they are never 100% obviously going to understand, right? So there's just something to think about. And sometimes it can go even that far as to where family or friends back home are asking, when are you coming home? And when are you going to get a real job? Right? As if being an English teacher abroad is not a real job, right? We hear that a lot. So my advice is, no matter what people say back home, don't take it too personally. They don't know what you're going through. And after all, it's your life and you can live it the way you want. All right, that's, I think. And that does not only go, obviously, for EFL teachers abroad. That's for everybody, okay? No matter what people say, They don't know what you're going through, and it's your life, and you can live the way you want. If you want to teach English abroad in Asia for 10 years for the rest of your life, that is a real job, and that's okay. And maybe your friends and family won't be able to understand that, but at least they should try and respect your decision. So that's my piece of advice. Number 7, for something that you might have to deal with, just so that you know and you can be prepared for that conversation, right? Yeah. Just waiting if somebody has a comment for that. But we have somebody familiar in the house. Hey, Hekmatullah. Good morning. I am very fine. How about you? We are talking about 10 pieces of advice that every new EFL teacher needs to know. Thanks so much for joining, Hekmatullah. Okay, then I'm moving on to advice number 8. But feel free to keep your comments coming. Advice number 8, very, very important. Yes, Wesley, I already answered you. You can watch this later. I answered that a couple minutes ago. You can watch it later on YouTube and on Facebook. You can always rewatch our sessions. There'll be folders for it, so you can rewatch, okay? Okay, Juliana says, my gosh, I've never thought about it. It's a kind of prejudice when they don't consider your job a job. Yes, right? I think it also has to do with how teaching abroad is always advertised, right? It's always advertised as this adventure. It's like vacation, you know? And it's not. It's a job, you know? When I was working, I mean, my first year teaching in Korea, it was so much work. Like, I was working all the time. I didn't have a lot of free time. So it's not like going on a vacation, right? You might live in like an exotic place by the beach or whatever, but it's not. You're still working. It's a job, right? Irma says, I gave my family a hint that I'm planning to go teach abroad. And my dad was like, how long will you live there? Yeah. I mean, and they also worry, right? Parents worry. That's their job. They need to worry. So obviously they're like, when are you coming home? You know, they want you there. And I get it, you know, totally get it. Hey, Gwen. Hi. No problem. You can always rewatch, you know, from the beginning. We're talking about 10 pieces of advice that every new EFL teacher needs to know. And we're just talking about advice number 7, that family and friends back home might not be able to relate to your experience abroad and how to deal with that. Hey, Richard. 12 years in 7 countries. I've seen the good and the bad. Things you may not believe. Oh, yeah. Please share some stories. We should do a live together one day, and you can share your stories. That would be really interesting. We should make a live about all the crazy stories that we had, right, while teaching abroad. That would be really interesting. All right, awesome. Then let's take it to advice number 8. Very important, read and understand your contract, okay? We talked about this last week. Was it last week? The scams, the TEFL scams. So obviously, read and understand your contract to make sure that you are not falling for a scam. But also, teaching English is big business in many, many countries. And there are more vacant positions than teachers to fill them. So a lot of schools are trying to, you know, give you a very disadvantageous contract because they feel like they can, because you as a foreigner might not understand local laws and regulations. So they give you a contract to sign with loads of loopholes in their favor. That can happen. So when you interview for a job abroad ask as many questions as you can about the school, about the employer, to see if they seem trustworthy, right? Before you sign your contract. And also reach out. There's a lot of Facebook groups, actually. They're called legal support for teachers in Korea or something like that. There's lots of groups for teachers in lots of different countries. You can do a search, and there will be people, often free of charge, that will be able to help you with your contract. You can send them a copy of the contract. They can read it over. They are lawyers. They know if they will be able to tell you if it's a good or a bad contract, if you should sign it or not. I have experienced a lot of things like that as well in my teaching career, where schools try to take advantage of foreigners because, we don't know the local laws, and we trust them, right? We think that they're going to be my employers. They're sort of going to be helping me. They want the best for me. But oftentimes they just want the best for their wallet. So, yeah. That's the best that I can say. So be sure that you read and understand your contract and reach out to people. You don't have to just sign the contract after you get it. Talk to people. Like I said, reach out to those Facebook groups, and you'll be able to get a lot of great advice there if the contract is, valid or not. Okay, Wesley says, thank you, Linda. If I may ask a question, how could we overcome language barriers when teaching abroad? Good question. Yes. Well, one easy fix would be you learn the language, right? And I mentioned that before, that it would be great if you're planning on moving abroad, that you take some language classes before you leave, so that you at least know some basics. That goes a long, long way. But most of the time, most people abroad, the locals, are going to be very, very understanding. They know you're a foreigner, and they don't expect you to obviously be perfect, right? Or know their language. Actually, it's funny, here in Korea, I've had so many situations where people were talking to me in English, and then they felt bad because their English was not perfect or not great. And their English was fine. But this is Korea. Why do you feel bad that you can't speak my language? I feel bad that I can't speak your language perfectly after 6 years. You know what I mean? So most of the time, locals are going to be so helpful and understanding. And they're going to do everything to, figure things out with you. You can also obviously overcome language barriers with different apps, translation apps or something. But the best way is just to immerse yourself in the local language and try to pick it up. There's a lot of language courses in pretty much every city where you're moving, right? And they also combine language with culture. So, yeah, that would be my advice. All right, good. Anything else about the contract? Let me think. But definitely, if you're moving abroad, before signing anything, I really recommend you checking out those Facebook groups, the legal groups. There's so many out there. There's a lot of good information. Yeah. Sure, Wesley, you're welcome. All right, then moving on to advice number 9. Yeah, or just not an advice, but a statement, I guess. You might not go back home. So just keep that in your mind. For me, it was actually funny because when I moved to China, my mom, she was like, you're going to love it so much, you're not going to come back. You're not going to come back home. And I was like, what are you talking about? I'm I'm gonna come back home. I might, 2 years, 3 years, seems like a long time, and then I'm gonna come back home. Like, yeah. But here I am after 8 years abroad, 9 years abroad, and here I am, and I don't have plans on going back at the moment. So, there are many reasons for teachers to stay abroad, attractive career opportunities. You can make good money. There's always vacant positions at schools, typically. A lot of people also decide to open their own schools up. Others, they might find love and settle down and start a family abroad. You just cannot predict the future. That's, I think, what I'm trying to say with this. You just can't predict the future. So, I also always liked making like a timeline or a plan, like a 5-year plan, right? And that's great that you have, your mind set on a goal and everything, but you cannot predict the future. It always comes differently as you're thinking, as you're expecting, as you're planning. You cannot plan your life. You can't. It's just how it is. You cannot plan your life. So just be open to that idea. That's what I'm trying to say, I guess. Don't let good opportunities slip away because of your plan. Like, oh no, I'm going home next year. I already told my family I'm going home next year. I can't take this job. Trust your instincts, trust your gut, trust your heart, and you'll find happiness. This is getting deep here, but that's how it is, right? In my opinion. Irma says, pack everything when you leave. You might not go back. Yeah, that's some good advice too. Sell everything. Sell everything. Sell your house. Sell your car. Take the money and then go abroad. Just kidding. Just kidding. But a lot of people are doing that. No, good. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. I'm just going to wait a few seconds and see if somebody makes a comment. And then we're moving on to the last one already. We're already an hour in now. And last piece of advice. And then we can do a Q&A. You can ask me things, or we can just chill for a little bit and then say goodbye. All right. Let's do the last one. All right. Yeah. Advice number 10, or statement number 10, you won't be the same person. And this, I know, sounds so cliche. We've all seen the TikToks of the people coming back home and they're like, you probably know what I'm talking about. But anyway. Also, culture shock, like we talked about, is real, and so is reverse culture shock, right? I experience this also every time I go back home. It's just weird, right? When you lived abroad or in a different country for so long and then you go back home, like reverse culture shock is a thing. It's a thing. When you're living abroad for a long period of time, you change, you adapt to your surroundings. That's human nature. That's what you do. Also me, I adapt. Actually, really funny story. In Korea, I've been living in Korea for almost 6 years now. And in Korea, they bow a lot, right? Like when you greet somebody or when you say thank you, you do like this little bow. And I started doing this back home when I go back home. And I feel like I do it just automatically. Like, oh, thank you. When I do it, I'm like, oh my God, no, I'm back home. I'm in Europe or I'm in the US. What are you doing? They're going to think you're stupid. So it's like little things like that. Yeah. And also on another note, a thing to remember is that life, when you come back home after a couple of years and you expect everything to be the same, right? This is how you lived. But life goes on for those staying back home, believe it or not. Life goes on, so maybe some of your friends have moved away or some of your friends have kids now, Or some, I don't know, some of your pets may have passed away. It's a little bit morbid, but you see what I'm saying, right? So life goes on even without you, and that can be a little bit difficult. I also experience that sometimes. I have my group of friends and we meet every time I'm back home, which is obviously not very often. And their lives go on and they meet regularly. And then sometimes when I'm there, they have all their inside jokes, or they have all their inside, like, oh, last time we did this, or oh, we love this restaurant, we come here all the time, and last time we ate this and this, and you're just missing out on that. So just be aware that you can feel like a little weird when you come back. It's not the same anymore. So yeah. I don't want to make this sad or anything, but yeah. All right, let's look at the comments. There's some funny ones, I think. Gwen says, oh my God, yes. Nobody ever believed me when I said reverse culture shock was real, but it is. It is, absolutely. When you live in a different culture for long enough, you'll feel it for sure. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, agree. Juliana says, well, I believe it's easier when you're young and have the whole life before you. But when you have already reached a certain age with family, children, it's more difficult. Going back home? Are you talking about going back home? I agree. Yes, definitely. Sure. More difficult. And like even traveling back and forth with a family, like it's more expensive. It's not so easy. Yeah. Irma says, this is what I want. Rebirth, but in a good way. So when you're coming back home, you're like a new person. Yeah, I guess that's interesting. That's an interesting perspective. I like that. That's awesome. Juliana says, yes, I agree. I did not stop speaking English in Shanghai when I visited my grandma 4 years ago. Okay. Yeah. Totally. Or, because I lived in China, maybe Juliana, you'll be able to relate. Or Gwen. In China, 6 is this, right? 6. This is how they say 6 in Chinese. So sometimes I would do that. Like, oh yeah, 6 beers, or like, and obviously outside of China, nobody knows what that means. So they're like, what? What are you talking about? 6? Hang loose? What does that mean? So it's like little things like that you pick up. And then when you go back home or you go to another place, they're like, what are you doing? So yeah, it's funny. But that's then makes you who you are, right? So that's very interesting. And you always have something to talk about, right? You always have stories to tell. So yeah. All right, then let's move on to Q&A. And we can have a bit of a chit chat before I am signing off. But yeah, hang loose. Right? 6 or hang loose, yeah. Yeah, it's funny. Or also like, especially like hand things, right? In different countries, different thing. What I don't know if there's anybody here who's Korean or who knows anything about that, but it's really funny here. With measurements, right? When you describe like, oh yeah, it was like this big, or like it was like this, you would go like this normally, right? Or like where I'm from, right? I would do this. In Korea, they would be like, yeah, it's like this. It's like this. So thick and length, they'd be like, yeah, like this. Or like this. Like this. I'm like, the first time I saw that, I'm like, what does that mean? What is that? So it's like little things like that. And that's why living abroad, every day is exciting. Every day you learn something new. Even still after 6 years, every day there's something new and funny and confusing, and something new that I learn. So it's never boring, even after this amount of time. So I'm sure some of you can relate, but that's just... Oh, somebody says, I think I saw you in an ad. What ad? I don't think so. Or maybe they stole my face. I don't know. What ad was that? I'm doing these lives every week. Maybe that's why. or ITTT's live ads or something. All right, cool. So just a reminder, for 30% off any TEFL or TESOL course, you can scan the QR codes here. And I'm also just going to share the 30% off link again in the comment section. You can see it on Facebook and on YouTube. If you click on that, you'll actually go straight to our application page. But because of the cookie-based system that we use, the coupon URL is actually saved, I think, for up to 30 days. So whenever you go back and you're ready to apply, you will still see your discount there. All right. Yeah, I hope today was fun. I had fun. I hope what I was saying made sense. Sometimes I feel like I can't really express myself really well. I don't know. It's weird. I think COVID and lockdowns made me, or a lot of people, like not being able to socialize because we're all just home. We're not really among other people. But yeah. I don't know what to say. But yeah, before I start rambling and before this turns awkward, I'm just going to say I'm going to sign off. Thanks so much for being such a fun and active crowd today. I really appreciate you guys. And like I said, I hope it was helpful. Oh, there's a question. Okay, cool. Brett is asking, what about getting documents apostilled? Does it depend on which country you're taking the course? If so, which docs? Okay. Yeah, so it's going to depend on the country where you're going, if they need it apostilled or not. So you would need to ask, you know, the embassy. Usually it's for visa purposes, right? So you would have to check with that embassy, the visa requirements, if you need your documents apostilled or not. So typically for me, what I had to get apostilled was my criminal background check, I believe, and perhaps my university diploma, the copy. You don't have, obviously not get your original apostilled, but a copy. So you would have to do that. And I actually, because I already lived abroad at the time, I used a service for that. There's a lot of different services that will help you do that as well, the apostille. Yeah. So check with that embassy or with your employer which documents you need to get apostilled. It's not for every country. But I had to do it for Korea, I remember. And China, I don't think for China. I think I also had to do it for some documents to get married in Korea. Maybe. Or just notarized. Oops, I wanted this one. Gwen says, you're doing great. I haven't socialized in months, and now I can't talk outside of my early years teacher voice. I know, right? It's the same with me. I work from home. I even have before COVID, so I think I'm even worse than you guys in terms of socializing. Yeah, it can be really awkward sometimes. Irma says, I had so much fun. Sorry if I talked too much today. You didn't talk too much. I love that. That's what I love about our group here, because I want us to talk together. I would hate it just me talking and giving you a lecture, you know? So I'm just so into the topic. Awesome. I'm really happy to hear that, because, you know, every week I'm like, oh, what should I talk about? Which topic? Because I don't want to do repeats. So I want it to be interesting every time and something new and yeah, interesting. So thanks so much, Irma. That means a lot. Juliana also says, thank you so much and have a nice day. Yes, guys, all of you, also Brett, you're very welcome. Thanks so much for watching again today and for being so nice. You know, sometimes social media, people on social media sometimes are not nice. So I appreciate you guys for being so nice and sharing your stories, asking your questions, having a conversation, exchanging information. That's what I'm all about. And I hope to see you again next week. I'll be there. I'm excited. And if there's a topic that you want me to talk about, let me know. You can also DM me. Let me make myself bigger. You can DM me on Instagram at Linda Goes East. Give me a follow. You can DM me about what you want me to talk about next. And also, let me share that again, because maybe some people missed it. Where was that? Anyway, I can't find it now. But on Instagram, if you tag your posts with hashtag my TEFL adventure, you can get featured on the ITTT Instagram account. So please do that. That would be awesome. I'd love to see what you guys are up to. Because I can only see your profile pictures. So I would love to see what you guys are up to behind your profile, behind the name, and network and engage and have a good time. So thanks so much, Giuliano. Also, thanks so much for sharing your great comments and everything. Thanks, Giuliano. Oh, Giuliano says, have a nice day. You're the best. Thanks so much. Okay, here we have something. Hasnaw. Oh my God, I can't pronounce it. Hasnawi? Probably not. I'm so sorry. Yes, about teaching methods. Okay, teaching methods. That's a good one. I'm going to write that down and I'm going to work on that one, okay? I also recently started teaching English online, so maybe that's also something that I'm going to talk about in the future. So yeah. Anyway, I'm starting to ramble. I don't want this to be weird at the end, so I'm going to sign off now. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh. No, let's just stop. Thank you so much for watching and for your great comments. And I wish you all a wonderful day, a wonderful weekend. Go out, have fun responsibly, wear your masks. And yeah, I see you next week. I need to stop talking now. All right. Bye, guys. Thank you so much. Bye, guys.